Good morning, everybody. It is 17th of April 2025, and looks like it's going to be another nice day in Belarus. Here, let me go this way. A lot of people here going to work, as you see. In this area. Okay, 17th. Yeah, this, I don't know, news is not really great. Lots and lots and lots of killing. Look at everything's getting green here. Lots of killing going on. And Trump, well, I'll get into Trump's bombings of Yemen soon. But let's talk about Germany a little bit. It needs to be addressed. Germany had their election on, what was it, the 23rd of February of this year. And the new chancellor, Merz, Friedrich Merz, he's supposed to take over. I think it's on the 6th of May. And, his approval ratings, even though he hasn't even gotten into office yet, his approval ratings have actually dropped somewhat. And one thing that actually got him the chancellorship is that he wanted to curb this terrible immigration policies, started actually by Angela Merkel, continued by Olaf Scholz to have open borders and let everybody flood into Germany. And I think the reason why they do this is they want to, bring in people that have a lot of babies or something, because a lot of the Germans are not reproducing as they wish. And if you get these people from a lot of other places, what do you say? They breed like rabbits. I don't know, whatever the expression might be. But they have a lot of kids and all that. Some of them have a lot of wives, and even if I guess polygamy is not allowed in Germany. Of course, they allow these guys to come in with all their wives and all that. It's very strange. You would think they'd have a law that says, oh, you only get to take one wife with you, so eeny, meeny, miny, mo, or whatever the deal is. But they take these other ones, maybe because they look at them as dependents. I have no idea. And apparently they live together, but maybe they're not married. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't live in Germany. I don't have 5 wives or 10. So, and normally, I guess if you have so many wives, you must have a lot of money. So why do they let them in? Why do they even want to go if they have so much money in the countries where they come from? And yet they get a lot of money from the government of Germany. And some are raking in huge amounts of money. And I guess it's still going on right now. And Merz, I guess, he's against, a lot of these immigrants flooding in, because there's a lot of them that come in and they kill people. A lot of killing and a lot of rapes and things like that. If it's not like in Austria where some boy was raped at a swimming pool, and the defense they used was he couldn't understand that the boy was saying he didn't want to be raped. So in other words, the guy got off scot-free. It's like, everybody wants to be raped, don't they? Especially when you're a little boy. You don't know what sex is or something like that. It's just, God, I don't know. You just don't understand. Why does it? Anyway, you guys know what I'm getting at. Bunch of crap, the European Union and coming up with their crap. There's all kinds of this stuff going on there. And, to let the criminals get away. And it looks like Trump is trying to stop that. And I think there are people that are petitioning in the United States for people, I don't know if they've murdered people or raped or what they've done, criminals, and there's a lot of people that they've marshaled up in the United States, a lot of leftist Democrat supporters or whatever, to, let these people stay there and let them run free in the society instead of Trump deporting them to prisons in El Salvador or whatever. But that's, if you guys are following that sort of thing. Anyway, it's kind of like, what the heck is going on here? Yes, but anyway, Merz is supposed to take over, and a lot of, his platform, that got him there was mostly about this immigration, and I guess that was the hot subject at the time. I think somebody must have got killed. They do that stuff in Britain too. A lot of these migrants, they just let everybody come in, and then they go around killing people, and then, they don't really care that much, the government, Starmer included, that the people are kind of pissed off about that. So, they think, well, it's just natural. We got to reduce the world's population. Let's just get them all over from some of these other countries, get them here to help kill our people, because we need more people to work. So when we kill the people, they can't work. Well, anyway, we'll figure that out later. So, yeah, but anyway, okay. open border. But I was also, the biggest thing about the negative side of Merz, obviously, is it's just like, I tell you what, I've been saying all the time, and it comes to be true more and more, that you cannot be a leader in a lot of these Western countries unless you hate Russia. You must hate Russia. If you don't hate Russia, you have no chance. You have no chance. They will defeat you. They will do everything to make sure you do not get into the executive branch of to run the executive branch of the government. And of course, Merz is salivating. He wants to send Taurus missiles to Russia, and Russia has been saying that means you're going to be into the war. It's really strange. They don't ever listen to Russia. And Russia's saying that means you are a direct participant in the war. You're sending. It's like, well, why don't you just fire those missiles from Germany into Russia? They don't quite have the range, maybe, but they have a long range. They can go deep into Russia. I think it's 500 kilometers. And they're going to be firing them from Ukrainian territory using Germans to do it. The Germans are going to be firing them. It's just like Germany going to war against Russia, but doing it from the soil of Ukraine. And somehow Merz does not see that as Germany's direct participation in the war. But I tell you what, the same thing's going on anyway. What are these ATACMS? The United States is using ATACMS, Ukraine is using ATACMS, but I guess there's Americans involved in that. I guess just like the HIMARS. But they're not direct participants. Well, Russia has to look the other way because, if you want to get a war between Russia and the United States, it's not going to be a very pretty sight. And even Trump is talking a lot. He said something with Maloney, who's in the United States. I think she's still there. And he was saying how stupid it is of Ukraine to be going to start a war. And let me emphasize that. Trump said to start a war. No, it was not Russia that started that war. That Ukraine started a war against Russia, who, as he said, 20 times more powerful than Ukraine. And if you think about it, they're far more than 20 times more powerful. The only power that Ukraine has is the power that they're getting from the West. They're getting all these weapons from the West, So, I don't know, maybe you could say 50 times more powerful. And the only power that Ukraine has is that they're able to use the media, and they're able to go snapping people up off the streets and then pushing them to the front lines, and to act as just cannon fodder and bodies to try to block the Russian advance, and getting, of course, getting all those free weapons and the surveillance, satellites, targeting, acquisition things, all that stuff from the West. If they didn't have that, they would have been gone a long time ago. Obviously it shows that Donald Trump is also still involved in the direct participation in the war, between Ukraine and Russia. And a lot of people are saying, oh, that's just the holdover weapons from Biden. But I think that there's still money coming in from the United States, leaving the United States even today. Even if it says something on a contract that they, after a certain amount of that money runs out, then of course it's going to stop. I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe Trump is going to stop that. Okay. So everybody knows, like I'm saying, it's a proxy war. It's definitely a proxy war against Russia. And the brainwashing of the Ukrainians just started a lot earlier. It started, like I said, back in the 1950s. And of course, a lot of them were brainwashed before that time with Bandera. And, and it's, why do I have to stress? I don't have to stress. You guys already know. They have it in their books, starting with small children, to think that Russians are all stupid people, and that the Ukrainians are a highly advanced, super intelligent race of people. It's just like what they do in Israel, or a lot of unfortunately Jewish families, or whatever, they try to say that they are superior, but they help each other. They're not smarter. It's just that they believe in collective help with each other and to get in certain positions. And I'm not against Judaism, really, so I don't, I don't want to start talking about that. I'll get really carried away. I mean, and I'm just talking about maybe the Zionists or the people. There are groups, obviously, in Judaism that believe they are the master race, God's chosen people, and all that. You got them, these kind of people all over, like the Ukrainians. I don't know what they have for their expression except Slava Ukraina, and Obama's the exceptional people or the master race for Adolf. That's just these expressions. This is nothing more than Nazism. And you got to watch. Trump never said anything like that. He said, make America great again. It has nothing to do with we're the superior people. He just says we have a lot of intelligent people here and all that. There's nothing Naziist about that. But yet they accuse him of being a Nazi. It's just like all these people in Europe. They accuse the AfD of being Nazis. The most popular party in Germany right now that the other parties always block to make sure that they never get in a seat of power. But they are against this war, and they want regulated immigration. And but yet the people that want this war are not the Nazis. That doesn't make any sense. But I guess that's how the thinking goes today. Anyway, let's keep going here. Yeah. But anyway, it's just so much propaganda for brainwashing, and everybody that watches this channel, you see what I'm all about just talking about that. It's like a lot of people with a lot of these channels, myself or even Alex Jones, you can call these people not like even bloggers, they're more truth activists. Then you have people on the other side that are in some kind of a fantasy world, and they look for the tiny little facts, they blow it up to be something really big and say that's the real truth. Anyhow, it's sort of like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, he's kind of a guy like that. He says that it's I don't know, get into that. Bernie Sanders is a case in and of itself, and he's just searching for relevance, and I don't really know his deal, but he buckles like a belt every time. He will lay down and play dead for all of the establishment players whenever it comes out that they're going to be more powerful, and he'll exactly contradict whatever he was saying before, to suck up to higher powers. Bernie Sanders is a pathetic case, and sure, he says some very good things, but he uses those things in order to get attention, and then he buckles on them every single time. I don't know, and they're not going to let him have any power anyway, and he's a nitwit for the most part anyhow, unfortunately. But he does make some very good points, so I have to admit that. You guys all know that too. So okay, but this thing, what I was talking about, this brainwashing stuff, it's like an avalanche. It started maybe back with Bandera, and he was able, and that's why the Germans are really scared of this guy. The Germans locked him up, even though he was a big supporter of Adolf Hitler, big time. He never went against Adolf Hitler, but the Germans put him in prison because they were scared of him, because this guy was very persuasive. And he's even persuasive after he's been dead for all these years. They even have an honored gravesite for him in Germany somewhere, for a Nazi. He's to be honest, he is far more Nazi than Adolf Hitler was, if you can ever imagine that. And that is honest to God truth. And this guy didn't care, past tense. He didn't care about massacring huge amounts of people. Anybody that is not for his agenda, he would massacre them. And notwithstanding the fact that he did that to Belarusians, he massacred, I'm sure it's way over 1 million Belarusian people. Or more Belarusians died than Poles by a long shot. But everybody talks about what he did in Poland. But the Belarus, it was far, far, far worse. And maybe it's because Germany a lot of time was present. God, I said something yesterday. I said something about I was talking about the European Union, and I said Soviet Union. So I can do that, when you're carrying a camera around. I'm not this way in normal life, only when I'm having a camera, and I gotta talk fast and think fast. Otherwise you have these big gaps, and you don't want to have that while you're talking on a camera. So I make the mistakes like that. But and I don't even know what I was talking about now. I had to interrupt myself. No, it was your fault somehow. No, but it's mostly, I'm just talking about this propaganda stuff. And it's turned into you can call it a snowball effect or an avalanche effect, where now, it started there in Lvov area, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's the West has been feeding this, and the West, they probably all believe this now, and they're so, saturated with their hatred of Russia And if you even talk to them and ask them, well, why, and have them, ask them about the facts, why, they won't even be able to come up with any facts. They will, and they'll come up with a bunch of fake stuff like Vladimir Putin, he came out and he killed all these people with his bare hands. And they don't ever have any evidence. It's just like Zelensky. And he said he has admitted that he is just oversaturated with hatred of the Russians and Vladimir Putin. And it's like, well, why? When he ran on a platform of trying to make friends with Russia, and it's something happened to him. Makes you see how easily he was, steered around. And those people that watch this channel, you're watching because you're not people that like to get steered around and made to believe a bunch of little crappy facts that people blow up to be big facts and they're nothing at all. And it's just like what's happening, and it happens to so many people. Like I said, here in Belarus, they don't realize they're living in a great country. It's fantastically governed, and yet they start, when you have a little argument or something, a discussion with Belarusians, they start to look at these, what about 2020? And it's like Lukashenko put down this rebellion that was funded by the West, and they even know it was funded by the West. They know that the West was funding an overthrow of the government of Belarus, and if Lukashenko wouldn't have done anything or sat back, he would have been gone. They would have massacred. As a matter of fact, their whole goal is to kill him, his entire family, and actually, and they've even said this, anybody that were good supporters of Lukashenko, they would go around and massacre them all. But those are the good guys. And Lukashenko is the bad guy. And he doesn't do that to his political enemies. I mean, it's incredible. But, that's what the world is we're in now. That's Nazism. Nazism is now mainstream. They just don't call it that. Just said like the Baltic states. They practice Nazism. I mean, how much do I have to, rant about that? Okay, but anyway, if you don't play, like Merz, he's got to play. Everybody's got to play. All these leaders in the West. So, you're not going to be allowed in any reindeer games if you go from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song or whatever. Go along to get along. Hate Russia. And the hate Russian people, it's like the cream of the crop. They're the ones that float to the top, and they're the ones that are controlling everything. And it's really weird. They don't look about their countries that much. They're just so preoccupied with hating Russia. Like Germany. That's why Germany is sinking. Blow up the pipeline, do everything, and watch your country just fail. Biden was getting that way, but luckily he's way over there, and he was just getting the other people to do it. But he's taking a lot of money from the American people. Yeah, blah 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 blah. But that's how democracy works, people. Really strange. Yes. But they're blocking democracy, like I was saying. Austria, France, everywhere. Whoever the people choose, and the people don't want war. So when the people choose the candidates that they like, that doesn't like the war, they don't want any part of this war, then those people get blocked. So you always get the people that are pro-war, hate Russia, even if they're not the most popular party, but that's how that works. That's democracy. Wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I've given examples, and a lot of other people, Georgescu or the AfD of Germany, all these people, Austria, everywhere. Yeah, wait a minute, so. Okay. What's that? I'm actually getting ahead of myself here. Yeah, and you have to also, another indication of this is, you look at like Merz, for example, and Merz, he wants to get down at the feet of Zelensky like everybody does. Trump seems to not be falling for this. He had Meloni there, and Meloni was even falling at the feet of Zelensky, and yeah, so Zelensky, even if you don't think he is, he honors the people that are carrying swastikas and stuff, but they're not the Nazis. So the Nazis today don't have swastikas. So if you want to be an anti-Nazi, you got to get a swastika now, Gosh, maybe they're going to start doing that in the West. Maybe Ursula von der Leyen and all that. Yes. Yes, okay. What's I going to say about George Bush? Well, yeah, Merz. Germany's not at war, technically speaking, with Russia at the moment, but Merz wants to attack them there, blow up the bridge. His big thing, he's salivating on blowing up the Crimea bridge that Russia doesn't even use for military purposes anymore, for logistics. Instead, they're going overland. But Merz, he's we got to blow that bridge up. You know, Ukraine was actually like that for a long time. Russia put a lot of things in place. The British were helping them with drones and everything, trying to blow up that bridge. You know, man. It's like, you know, making these videos, it's like all this is nothing but everybody trying to go against Russia. All these nice guy governments, you know, that want to escalate the war. But anyway, Trump said he's not happy with Zelensky lately. He said he's not doing a very good job. And I think Trump knows that it wasn't Zelensky that started the war, but obviously Zelensky is perpetuating it and he's trying to escalate it. And yeah. Okay. So, oh, and there was also a report, and I was saying this too, you know, the reason why that why Ukraine is not completely overrun by now, and I've mentioned it, and a lot of people don't mention this in blogs for some reason, but Ukraine has a definite drone superiority over Russia. And for some reason, you only hear about the Russian drones being effective, but Ukrainian drones, they have, I think it's like a 3-to-1 advantage. For every one drone Russia has, Ukraine has 3. And they're heavily recruiting Russians everywhere, trying to find them that don't like the Russian government or have a beef. You know, the United States did that many, many times, and that's what they normally always do, you know, to try to make terrorists, to try to blow something up in the United States, and then they can blame it on, you know, they did that like what with some Haitians trying to, you know, bomb the Sears Tower at one time. That was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. I don't know. But anyway, Ukraine is looking for saboteurs. They even do it in Belarus. They try to find people, and you know, and there's a lot of Belarusians. Luckily, Lukashenko kicked a lot of them out that really hate the government in Belarus. He kicked them out, so they have to recruit them over there for the most part. And you know, there are maybe people certainly that don't like the government here, but they're not radical enough to blow something up most of the time. I hope not, you know, because I live here. But anyway, it's drones and the satellite surveillance and all that the U.S. gives them to pinpoint. And things that aren't mentioned also, I've mentioned before too, is that they do use chemical weapons against the Russians. Russia doesn't announce that very much. They do announce it, but they don't broadcast it too loudly because, you know, it would kind of hurt their recruitment goals. And Ukraine has to forcefully recruit people, as you see so many videos of them, you know, snapping people up, 5 of them, and they attack, you know, and they fighting these people into vans, ship them to the front lines with virtually no training, and then use them as cannon fodder, you know, to die, you know, against Russian artillery. Anyway, so, and I was mentioning also before, Ukraine gets thousands of drones every month from Australia, and they get a lot from the Baltic states, and they have factories in the Baltic states producing drones for Ukraine. A lot of people don't talk about that. I don't know where else, you know, because the Baltic states and Poland send a lot of drones to Ukraine. And of course, Ukraine produces their own. They have drone factories. Sometimes Russia bombs them. Yes, okay. Let's see. Okay, let's see. I already talked a lot about this stuff. Good. Okay, the violations of Ukraine. I think yesterday they violated that ceasefire, I think 6 times. They do it every single day, and they can get away with it. You know, it's very strange. And somewhere I wrote here, I'll find it as well, how Israel gets away with violating ceasefires too, and you guys already know that too. But so let's see. Okay, here, I think I have it right here. Lebanon, their Minister of Information has said that Israel has violated the ceasefire they started with Lebanon 141 days ago. They violated it 2,740 times at least, they said. But I guess it's maybe good. I don't know what Israel is hitting, but I think they've only killed, it's not, only 190, and they've, injured, and injured means like maybe lost a leg. People are never going to live a regular life. Most of them injured 485. Of course, people get scratches and stuff. Those aren't even included. But anyway. And I've already told you guys in another video, Israel has sectioned off Gaza into 4 sections, and they've taken over, I don't know, maybe 30%, and made it now officially Israel. So that's very much smaller now. And they're still trying to move all these people out. Like, which are the countries that are trying to take them, or that said they would take some Gazans? And now they're stopping aid going into Gaza, trying to starve these people to death. They're doing everything. It's ethnic cleansing, and of course, ethnic cleansing by means of genocide is also fully acceptable, because it's just like the Ukrainians. I shouldn't say all Ukrainians. Zelensky and his people, they don't look, and the Israelis, they don't look at Palestinians as human beings either. And a lot of, I hate to say this, but a lot of these Zionists in Israel, they don't even look at me or you as human beings either. It's like they are humans and we are actually animals or species, goy, and we are made, to be manipulated and to do things for them. Like I said, there are a lot of them like that. And even if they get out there and start, it's like, oh yes, this. And there was even ads. I told you guys about this one time, and I've seen these ads. They have commercials played in certain places. In the United States, they even played them. That's where I saw that. It was strange. And it was like gay tourism, like go to Israel. And they had these buff-looking guys with great bodies, as if they're all gay guys, and they all go to Israel to pack fudge or whatever the heck the gays do in their spare time, and or maybe in their regular time. Maybe there's some professionals. I don't have any idea. Well, these guys are probably paid. They probably have a lot of them. And somebody was saying, well, why are we doing this? What's this all about? This homosexuality? Do we support homosexuality? And the Israelis say, no, that's for the goy. So they try to promote. Who knows? Maybe they're the ones behind. The ones, because you wonder who in the heck is really behind all this LGBT, homosexuality, transsexuality, and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's some of these Zionist people. Yes, okay. I'm going to say a ceasefire. Matter of fact, I should go. I think there's some nicer photos. I'll go across the street here. How much more do I have to go? Okay, I still got some. Look at this duck! No. Reminds me of one video. What's this guy doing by himself over here? A pigeon. Maybe he's an outcast. Rudolph. Maybe he's not a pro-Russian or anti-Russian, so they kicked him out. Even it's happening to the pigeons. Okay, violation of the ceasefire. Let's see, what else? Oh God, again, some of this stuff is actually comical. Very, very comical. Zelensky is such a fascinating character to be watching. He's in some sort of a really, I don't really know what is wrong with this guy, but he is like, anyway, but he's saying that the Chinese are still involved, and they found those 2 Chinese, that maybe joined the Russians that happen to have been Chinese. So he says China is involved, and of course he discounts the fact of even Americans. There's Americans even involved. Americans are even involved in, fighting on the side of Ukraine. Not to mention lots of Brits, lots of French, lots of from Colombia, and massive amounts of Polish people. Oh, but they're not involved. No, those governments are not involved. No way whatsoever. And in fact, a lot of them are not. It looks like the United States is no longer, at least in that way, they're not involved. And obviously the Colombian government, I don't think, is involved. But Ukraine has a recruiting office down there, and there's a lot of people from different countries. It doesn't mean that those governments are involved, but they got 2 Chinese, so they say the Chinese government is involved. And now they're saying, this is really funny too, very funny. Zelensky says that China is involved, and that they're sending gunpowder and I don't know, and maybe weapons or something. I think he even said weapons. I don't know, but they're sending weapons to the Russians for Ukraine. And it's just like, remember when they were saying, oh, Iran is sending the drones, and how come you don't hear that anymore? Russia, before the war, they did buy some drones from Iran. Iran admitted it too. And Russia has admitted it. But during the war, Iran was not sending any drones whatsoever to Russia, but yet they kept on pushing that one and pushing that one. Just like pushing the North Koreans have soldiers, 17,000, but nobody's been able to find not even one. So you find 2 Chinese, but yet they have 17,000 North Korean soldiers fighting for Russia, but nobody's ever found one. The Russians haven't even found them. Like I said, these are invisible. These are invisible soldiers. They have a technology, like I said. You talk about the cloaking device from Star Trek, or the flux capacitor from Back to the Future, and they're using these sort of things. These people have mastered this technology, the North Koreans. So you guys, you have to really be scared of them. So, you know that. Anyway, Zelensky, maybe he believes in this stuff. I have no idea. I don't know where he comes up with his things, But don't worry. Next week he will show you the evidence that China is involved. After we create it, I mean, we have to just consolidate all this evidence that we have. We're not going to create it. Did I say create it? I didn't mean create it, but we have to make this fake evidence. And it reminds me of, remember the time when George Galloway, they said he was colluding with Saddam Hussein in Iraq. He was in business with him and all that. And they kept pushing that, the United States. And I'll tell you what, the United States Congress, the Senate was saying this stuff. And so they said they wanted to convict him in the United States for being in league with Saddam Hussein. George Galloway, what a fabulous person. So what did he do? He got on a plane and he went to America. Okay, let's have the trial, he said. And they started coming up with this stuff, and there were fake signatures and all this kind of stuff. He just embarrassed the United States federal government like you would never believe. I think you can still find that stuff on YouTube. I'm even surprised they put it on YouTube. But he just embarrassed the United States government like you would never believe. But, Zelensky is trying this now against Russia. And he's got even less evidence. He doesn't even have the fake stuff yet. So he's trying to probably create some fake evidence to put China, because, I know it's very strange that there's actually a tariff war going on right now between the United States and China. So why is it such a coincidence that now you get these accusations from Zelensky? Well, all he's trying to do, obviously, and he heard from Starmer, you have to get the United States involved, or else, we're not going to make it. We're not going to be able to defeat Russia unless the United States gets involved. So this is a Hail Mary pass by Zelensky. He's just throwing the bomb. The guy's near the end zone. I don't know where he's at. Just throw that friggin' football and maybe somebody's going to catch it or something like that. Well, that's what Zelensky's all about right now, trying to get the United States. He's trying everything possible. The Sumy false flag crap, that was one to, provoke Russia. Had a big military presence with a lot of civilians involved, just daring Russia to bomb the place. And they actually did. But I think, I don't know how many civilians. I think maybe there were some children. I think I heard that. But anyway, it's very few. And I think it was like 60 military, the vast majority. So maybe it was, 7 civilians. And Zelensky, he had probably, just like Butcha, he had it all planned out. So trying to make it look like Russia was killing innocent people back then, and he had it all planned out now. And Zelensky came up and said there was no military there whatsoever. And even the Ukrainians are pissed off at him for lying like that. But he's an honest man. He's a very honest man. He told us that. He told us that himself. So that must be true. Because he's an honest man, that must mean that he's telling us the truth when he's telling us that he's an honest man. So there you have it. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm just getting on a rant here. Okay. Drones. I went through drones already. Violations. Yeah. I talked all about that stuff. Yeah, okay. China. I was talking about that already. Okay, the minerals deal. God, this thing keeps on going as well. All these things, they're just never ending. Okay, the minerals deal. And they find a memorandum. Oh boy, that, in a memorandum, Zelensky got up and gave a speech saying it himself, that it's, and he's even doing this on purpose. Maybe he learned, or maybe, because you remember the Budapest memorandum. how Ukraine uses that. But okay, let's go here. He said it's a memorandum of, I think, maybe intent, whatever the word is. There's a memorandum, I think, of agreement that has a little bit of, it's binding a little bit. I'm not a law expert, but I know that memorandums are not legally binding contracts, so it's almost like not even worth talking about it. When somebody signs a memorandum, it's completely and utterly worthless. All it says is you have an intent to make an agreement with somebody. So it's like what's the friggin' point of it? You either make an agreement or you don't make an agreement, So it's like a step up to say, well, we kind of would like to do an agreement with you. It's okay, big deal. Why do you even need it? Everybody knew anyway. but they were, Zelensky went over there, remember, with that little office thing, and him attacking J.D. Vance in the office there, and and having that argument with Trump. They were supposed to sign an agreement, not a memorandum. They were supposed to sign an agreement at that time. So now we're back. We're only now to a memorandum stage, and Trump keeps coming up saying, "Oh well, it should be signed." What did he say? Thursday of next week, or I don't know. But Trump keeps coming up with this stuff too. Just like he said, I'm going to end the war in 24 hours. Then he said he's going to end the war such and such a time. Then it's this time. Then it's that. But what is it? It's almost the 20th. It's supposed to end the 20th of April. Well, it's the 20th of April in a couple of days. And then, I don't know. But it looks like, I'll tell you what, I don't know. I was saying this before, but here I'm listening to these guys too and buying into all their crap. But the two sides, Ukraine and Russia, they're miles apart. They're miles apart from making an agreement. And some people are even mentioning that right now. Yeah, but so I can talk about that all day. But anyway, Zelensky said it's a first step. And then they say, like I was going to tell you, what about the Budapest Memorandum that said we're supposed to still have our nuclear weapons? And of course, like I said, it's a memorandum. And not to mention the fact that those nuclear weapons belong to Russia. They did not belong to Ukraine. It's just like the mini nukes that they have. Well, they call them tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. They don't belong to Belarus. They belong to Russia. Belarus knows that. They're not ever going to come up with this crap like Zelensky does, or all the Ukrainian, Nazis or something. They're grasping at straws again. So, the mineral agreement, maybe that is going to happen. I don't know. It's not a big deal necessarily. Anyway, you would think Zelensky would go for that, but I think maybe the Nazis don't like that. Well, he's a Nazi too. So, but anyway, Trump bombed the major port of Yemen. That's what I was going to get to, and I mentioned sort of at the beginning of this video. Trump bombed the major port of Yemen, and that is basically the lifeline of the Yemeni people. And I don't know if they get weapons through there or not, but he completely, basically destroyed the entire port. And most of the people in Yemen depend on that port to get aid, because Yemen is the poorest country in the Middle East, and they're dependent for their food. And most of that, all of that comes from that port. And Trump destroyed it. So I guess that shows how much he loves the people there. And the number of dead keeps going up. And I don't know about the injured, but as it stands right now, 33 people have been declared dead. He did this bombing was last night. So probably going to be hearing more about this. And, anyway, Trump bombing, he's against the war in Ukraine, but he's very much, and then they call the Yemenites, they call them terrorists. I don't know. They're not terrorists. They're not terrorists. And I've already talked about them quite a few times. Okay, Biden, y'all say that he gave a speech, and he wants $300,000 for every speech now, because everybody wants to hear Biden speak, And I guess he flopped on this one, and it's probably not going to be, very much in demand. He's not going to be given that many speeches, He's got to make sure he takes a lot of diapers with him, of course, when he goes to these speeches, because it's probably going to be outside of Vermont. And it's going to be ice cream season soon, so you have to, make the plans around ice cream season, beach ice cream and all that. But since it flopped because he made that thing, about colored kids. He called black, children colored kids. So, and that didn't go over too well, I guess. Okay, let's talk about a little more about this sort of inferiority stuff. The Ukraine's tennis star. I don't even know her name, but she is suing the World Tennis Association for letting Russian and Belarusian tennis players compete. And she said it has given her emotional distress. So that's why she's suing them for letting them compete. And some people were mentioning the fact that she really lost. She lost big time to a Belarusian in 2024 in the Australian Open. So that's one reason, you know, it's like Belarusophobia. So she's really scared. You know, I guess Belarus has some good tennis players. I'm not really much into sports, but anyway, Russians and Belarus, they I don't know. But I thought Russian and Belarusian athletes were banned from everything, you know. So, wait a minute, I thought that was sports. They're acting like it's politics. Anyway, doesn't matter. But anyway, the Belarusian that beat her, I guess her name is Aryna Sabalenka. Wow. They had debates in Canada, I guess, who's running for the prime ministership since Trudeau stepped down, and we got Carney. And I guess the debate turned out to be who is more anti-Trump. So, you know, it's like the Hate Russia Club. Maybe they have the Hate Trump Club, and they'll probably cave no matter what anyway. Okay. Talk about more hate. Zelensky, he seems, and this is towards the end of this video, by the way, he seems to really, really hate Witkoff. You know, the envoy, it's for Trump. He really, really hates him. And of course, what he's probably, I kind of suspect, this is a theory, you know, they got to somebody in the State Department from the United States, her name is Tammy Bruce, and she really hates Russia. And it's really strange because you see a lot of the people that work for Trump, they're not, it's not like they like Russia, but they don't hate Russia. And Zelensky, he only accepts people, except of course he's got to accept Trump, but he only accepts people that hate Russia. You must hate, it's the hate, I don't know, I guess he must be the leader, which makes sense. He must be the leader of the Hate Russia Club. And, you know, I don't know if he's got some sort of allure for a lot of these people that are very weak-minded. And by weak-minded, I mean very weak-minded. I'm talking about the leaders of Europe. You know, these, I don't know, are they idiots? They're idiots as well. They're weak-minded idiots. And it makes you really wonder how you get these people in politics. You know, I said the cream floats to the top, but of course the only, I don't know, maybe it's the only point that these people have that the establishment wants is that they hate Russia. So they can be complete idiots. You can get Annalena Baerbock or Kaja Kallas or Ursula von der Leyen with her computer chips out of the washing machines. You can get the dumbest possible people in these high positions. And of course that answers the question of why is Europe failing and failing big time? Why is it losing significance when it really never had to? But yet, you know, when you start off by blowing up, you know, your cheap source of energy, I guess that means right there it's a signal that you're gone. You know, you're not going to last very long after that. So, anyways, you know, Zelensky, what did he call? He called him incompetent. So here, it makes you really wonder what is going to happen. And I think if you're looking at Trump, it looks like Zelensky does have some cards. Zelensky has some pretty good cards, it looks like, because he knows that at the moment, he's the only one that Trump can get a deal with on the side of Ukraine to stop this war. And Trump has made everybody think on the planet that he wants to and is going to stop this war. But it looks like, I don't know, Zelensky's not playing that. The art of the deal. Zelensky is actually out-dealing Donald Trump. And he keeps delaying and delaying and delaying, and they try to make it look like Russia's delaying, but it's not. It's Ukraine delaying, and Ukraine keeps backing out of everything, like I said, just like now. Now we have a memorandum of understanding for the minerals deal instead of an agreement. So he's going backwards instead of going forward. And Trump is like, oh, God, what am I going to do? You know. So Zelensky does have some cards. I guess Zelensky, it's the revenge of Zelensky when Trump said, you don't have any cards. But it turns out, it looks like Zelensky at least has the ace. You know, he doesn't have many cards, but he's got the biggest card, and he's using it against Trump, and he's using it against Trump big time. So I don't know. Trump might have a much, much bigger card, but it's going to take some real commitment. So he might have to do to Ukraine what he's doing to Yemen. Just a thought, just a thought. Anyway, very interesting what's going on. And I'm hoping I'm going to stay safe, or we're going to stay safe here in Belarus at least. I hope everybody stays safe, but I don't know. Bunch of friggin' knucklehead idiot Nazis running the world today, at least over here in this part of the world. So who knows what's going to happen next. And yeah, like I said, he's trying to get rid of Witkoff. He probably wants Tammy Bruce, who's part of the State Department and hates Russia, probably wants her in charge. Gosh, I'd hate to see if that actually happens. This is just a, this is a far-fetched idea that I'm, a far-fetched theory, but you never know. I would be shocked, and I would be shocked and wonder what the heck is going on. It's like I have a crystal ball if actually that happens, but I don't think so, because she hates Russia. She hates Russia, and yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyway, that's the end of the video, and thanks for tuning in, guys and girls, everybody. What is it? No matter what your gender is. And well, anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.